This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world. We begin today by looking at the fight in Congress over disaster aid for Puerto Rico since it was ravaged by Hurricanes Maria and Irma in 2017. On Monday, two competing disaster relief bills stalled in the Senate as Democrats and President Trump continue to fight over federal relief funds for Puerto Rico. A companion bill to a January package passed in the House failed after Republicans objected to the lack of relief funding for recent flooding in the Midwest. Another Senate bill, supported by Republicans, fell short of the 60 votes it needed. It contained just $600 million for Puerto Rico's food stamp program, a number Democrats say is far too low, as many Puerto Ricans are still recovering from the devastation of 2017's Hurricane Maria. Democrats also say aid should cover rebuilding and other forms of disaster relief. Trump responded Monday night on Twitter, writing, quote, "Puerto Rico has already been scheduled to receive more hurricane relief funding than any place in history. The people of Puerto Rico are great, but the politicians are incompetent or corrupt. Puerto Rico got far more money than Texas and Florida combined, yet their government can't do anything right. The place is a mess. Nothing works. FEMA and the military worked emergency miracles, but politicians like the crazed and incompetent mayor of San Juan have done such a poor job of bringing the island back to health. $91 billion to Puerto Rico, and now the Dems want to give them more, taking dollars away from our farmers and so many others. Disgraceful."
That was President Trump's tweet. Well, last week, Trump told a meeting of Republican lawmakers that Puerto Rico had received too much disaster aid. Senator Marco Rubio told reporters Trump said the aid would, quote, "is a way out of proportion to what Texas and Florida and others have gotten." But a study by the universities of Michigan and Utah found federal aid to Puerto Rico was slower and less generous after Hurricane Maria than federal aid received by Texas and Florida after Hurricanes Harvey and Irma. Hurricane Maria was one of the deadliest storms in U.S. history. San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz tweeted Monday, "President Trump continues to embarrass himself in the office he holds. He can huff and puff all he wants, but he cannot escape the death of 3,000 on his watch. Shame on you," the San Juan mayor tweeted. Well, for more, we go to Washington, D.C. to speak with Congressmember Nydia Velázquez, Democrat of New York, who has served in the U.S. House of Representatives since 1993. She's the first Puerto Rican woman to be elected to Congress, the former chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Congressmember Velázquez, welcome back to Democracy Now! Thanks so much for joining us. Can you respond to President Trump's repeated attacks on Puerto Rico, demanding that aid be cut?
Good morning, and thank you, Amy and Juan, for having me. Well, the president, again, is trying to masquerade his ineffective response to Puerto Rico, and again, lie about the money that Puerto Rico has been receiving. And that is true. Puerto Rico has only I believe that it has been close to $40 billion that has been obligated, but only up to maybe a month ago, Puerto Rico wasn't able to get the money that was appropriated. I believe that only close to $11 billion has made its way to Puerto Rico. So the $90 billion that the president made reference to is the estimate that has been put together by insurance company and the government of Puerto Rico about the damages that Puerto Rico suffered through Maria and Hurricane Irma. So again, he doesn't have the facts right, and he comes to Congress. It's just alarming for the President of the United States to come to the Senate and target assistance to the most vulnerable American citizens in Puerto Rico. It is shameful, and he cannot get away with this. I blame the Republican leadership. I blame Rick Scott, the senator from Florida, and Marco Rubio for not standing up for the American citizens in Puerto Rico. They said that they will be the senators representing the interests of Puerto Rico, they lack the spine to stand up to the President of the United States and call out his lies.
Well, Congresswoman, I want to ask you further about the aid. The Washington Post last year had reported that Florida received more money in disaster relief for its citrus industry, $2.3 billion, than Puerto Rico received initially to rebuild its entire electrical grid. Puerto Rico got about $2 billion in that initial package. And now the oranges, obviously, of Florida are important to the United States, but they are not critical and to life, whereas the electrical grid of Puerto Rico obviously is critical to the functioning of the entire society. And I'm wondering, this disparity, even of comparing the aid to, for instance, Texas and Florida, when the death toll in Puerto Rico could only be compared to Hurricane Katrina. That's the only disaster of this magnitude. And yet Trump continues to sort of equate it with what was given to Texas and Florida after Hurricane Harvey. I'm wondering your concern about what's happening with the rebuilding of the electrical grid in Puerto Rico.
Well, when we talk about almost 3,000 lives that were that died, that were lost during Hurricane Irma, many of them happened in the aftermath of Maria because of the lack of power in Puerto Rico. So, in order to rebuild the economy, in order to make sure that that people's lives are protected, we need to restore the power grid. And so for the president to compare oranges to the lives of Puerto Rico shows you that he doesn't value the lives of the people in Puerto Rico. For him, brown people are not deserving of our commitment of the federal government to show up and assist and provide the resources. For him to question the $600 million in food assistance is shameful. 65% of the children in Puerto Rico lives in poverty. And by the way, Puerto Rico, like any other state, was able to receive food assistance like any other state until 1984. So this is not something that is really out of the blue. That was the reality of Puerto Rico, and that is what I intend to do by introducing legislation that will restore the ability of Puerto Rico to compete for federal nutrition assistance like any other state, and for that matter, to all the territories. After all, they are American citizens.
Congresswoman, I wanted to go to Puerto Rico Governor Ricardo Rosselló speaking on CNN after Trump told Republican lawmakers Puerto Rico has received too much aid since Hurricane Maria. This is Governor Rosselló speaking to CNN's Jim Acosta.
Does it feel that way sometimes? That you're dealing with a bully?
If the bully gets close, I'll punch the bully in the mouth.
I'll punch the bully in the mouth, Rosselló said. In response, Trump told reporters, I've taken better care of Puerto Rico than anyone ever. President Trump has still not acknowledged that more than 3,000 people died in Puerto Rico after the hurricane. Is that right, Congressmember Velasquez, that he has not admitted the latest figures, which could be actually more than 4,000?
That is more troubling is the fact that he instructed Mike Mulvaney and Secretary Carson, and this is information that was provided to the Washington Post by a deputy assistant, that the president wanted to make it difficult for any single dollar to go to Puerto Rico, that instead it should go to Texas. Again, this president is cruel when he doesn't recognize that under our watch, 3,000 lives were lost. But that is not enough, and he continues to be a bully, and he continues to lie. It's just shameful. It's cruel. It's heartless. He has no empathy for children who could die because we, the richest country in the world, is incapable of doing what is right for American citizens in Puerto Rico.
And Congresswoman, I'd like to ask you about the situation with the continued financial control over Puerto Rico. There's been lots of battles between the governor of Puerto Rico and the legislature and the Financial Control Board since in a couple of 2 years or so that the control board has been in existence. I'm wondering, you initially reluctantly backed the creation of the control board as the only way to get Puerto Rico out of its situation with the massive debt it was facing. I'm wondering your analysis of how that control board has functioned.
Well, as you know, Juan, yes, I voted reluctantly. We didn't have a legal framework. Puerto Rico didn't have the right to file for bankruptcy. And we were concerned that lacking that Puerto Rico will end up in federal court, that a judge will move to seize public assets or sell public assets in order to honor the good faith that they put into, for example, the GOs. But in that legislation also, we added language that will require for the Oversight Board to conduct an audit. And they waited too long to do it, and it shows that $6 billion were issued illegally. Now, we sent a letter yesterday requesting that on top of that, that they will add up the fees and commissions that were paid at the time that they issued those bonds, and that should be also declared illegal. I am not happy about the fact that the Oversight Board has focused more on paying creditors rather than promoting economic development, and that many of the measures have been austerity measures. And so they need to do a better job. They still have time to right the wrongs of some of the decisions that they have made, and we will continue to put pressure. But my take is they should discharge the debt and cancel the debt at this point.